Distracting, entertaining, damaging, empowering. A nuisance. Social media is seen as an addiction to some and as a social asset for others. How social media affects the youth of today. Brigham Young University found that for some, social media can provide an avenue to make long-lasting friendships, and for others, it can be a source of anxiety and depression. Social media can therefore be seen as a double-edged sword. Much like prescription medication, which can be used to save lives or lead to addiction, social media, if used improperly, can hinder your ability to live a happy, healthy lifestyle. It is important to understand the potential positive and negative aspects to social media and how your outlook can influence the degree to which they can affect you. First and foremost, social media incentivizes engagement. On both a local level and broader scale, the language and content found on social media platforms helps people to connect not only to each other, but to identify with their region and community as well. Even Bearden has its own sub-community on social media that thrives and promotes cultural engagement with Bearden students. @Bearden_leads is an Instagram and Twitter handle dedicated to keeping students updated about upcoming activities and sporting events. Many students rely on seeing the occasional reminders posted by @BeardenLeads as they scroll through their daily feed. We surveyed around 100 Bearden students, and 78% of them admitted to checking their social media pages more than 5 times a day. There are numerous other teachers, students, and organizations that have a presence on social media that encourages students to participate in local activities. For example, Bearden's Coach Tate, who routinely posts about school announcements and events, has nearly 3,500 followers. Yet on a deeper level, the way that we speak and the language we use in local social media builds upon the foundation of our cultural identity. Whether we notice it or not, speech patterns affect each and every one of us. Local social media accounts like Bearden_leads use the regional sayings and cultural catchphrases we do, thereby reinforcing our cultural identities not only through engagement, but linguistic homogeneity. Social media also provides youth with an interesting outlet to discover their unique identities and social skills. Platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat increase and diversify the information youth consume on a daily basis. As they see and hear more, they begin to find their own preferences and style of speech and communication. From a linguistic perspective, this manifests in a culture of internet-fluent people using memes and other measures of meaning to communicate ideas. An increasingly popular tool is the emoji. In her book, Because Internet, author Gretchen McCulloch analyzes the way that youth use emojis to represent our gestures in physical space and show our audience we're actively listening. Understanding tools like emojis can allow teens to better understand themselves and how they communicate. Just like how people in face-to-face conversations reaffirm their attention by repeating phrases or nodding, people over text can use a crying emoji to reinforce a sympathetic text. Memes between friends weave themselves into the fabric of conventional communication and help establish a new generation of humor. McCulloch explains that this trend itself isn't new. From cavemen to carrier pigeons, people have always found new and innovative ways to express themselves. Whether it be sending jokes over Xerox machines, as McCulloch describes, or using social media to express sarcasm and irony, these trends are undeniable indicators of identity and means of communication. Caps, hashtags, extra spacing, and more can all be ways for teens to express the way they feel through social media outlets. Understanding these signs not only help us to translate these messages teens are sending, but how they feel, which can better help friends, family, or counselors react to warning signs of depression or anxiety. Yet for as many ways that they connect and develop us, they also pose a risk. The internet can be a strong source of anxiety and depression, and a great degree of this depends on the viewer. A New Zealand Journal of Psychology found that introverts and people with lower levels of social support were more likely to have negative experiences with the internet. And the BYU study found that those who take on an active part in social media, such as commenting, posting, and liking comments, were less likely to find social media as a source of anxiety or depression. Locally, this could mean youth could become increasingly susceptible to the negative effects of social media. After conducting a survey of over 90 participants, all of whom were young adults or youth, we found that while over 80% of those responded were on social media for an hour or more a day, 84.8% posted infrequently, every few weeks or less, and at least 20% admitted that they felt social media was a source of stress. While this is an informal survey and far from empirical data, it does suggest that while we are on social media a lot, youth actively post and participate much more rarely. What the New Zealand and BYU studies, as well as McCulloch's book, found is that we enjoy being a part of something. When we feel truly connected with a community online, we're more likely to find a meaningful connection instead of a fear of missing out, or simply called FOMO. Those who feel less comfortable putting themselves out there, or those that only watch from the outside instead of actively participating, social media doesn't present itself as an opportunity for development and friendship, and often serves to show what they're missing. And it seems, at least around Knoxville, this could be a serious issue that should be addressed. Counselors and parents should be encouraging students to take an active part in the platforms they enjoy, and try to use them to enhance friendships rather than just checking up on them. Social media also presents a risk due to the lasting life of the content we add to it. Teenagers often hear the phrase, "Once you put something on the internet, you can't get it back." This is especially risky in today's culture because businesses and recruiters will often check social media pages to vet applicants. A wanton post made a few years back could spell disaster for anyone looking to get a job, get into a prestigious college, or score an internship. For teenagers who are still experimenting and exploring how they talk and communicate online, this can pose a significant danger. For example, 10 Harvard applicants had their admissions revoked due to offensive memes that they had sent each other in a private online messaging board on Facebook. The way that we communicate, including humor, offensive or not, can greatly impact our lives for years to come. Unchecked, this freedom can cost teens a heavy price. With our posts being scrutinized and analyzed years after we post them, and privacy seemingly out the window, social media itself seems to present a minefield of potential accidents. The context of a childish joke and misunderstood messages can quickly devolve into offensive comment that could threaten their future careers. While there are both benefits and drawbacks to social media, it's important to recognize how these factors can be managed through thoughtful usage. By acting as an active user instead of a passive user, and commenting, liking, and posting on social media, we can help ourselves to feel subconsciously connected to those we see. And using social media as a tool to connect and engage with our community is another great way to maximize its potential benefits. By carefully considering the things we post before we share them, we can minimize the chances that a stray joke could be taken out of context at a later date. For introverts or those already prone to depressive tendencies, special care should be taken to ensure that social media doesn't pose a negative influence. As counselors and parents, it's important to realize the role that social media plays in developing the way youth talk and communicate. Memes such as Grumpy Cat or the tears of joy emoji can be used as extensions of how we feel or constitute conventional humor. These tools are used more and more every day, and understanding their meanings and uses can help others to differentiate between mundane humor or out-of-character signs of anxiety or poor mental health. Through developing a better understanding of today's social media landscape, the teens and adults of Bearden High School and the community around it can peer into the window of social media to understand the psychology of today's teens. By identifying harmful trends or behavior and minimizing their impact, we can all enjoy social media with less stress. At Bearden_Leads is an Instagram and Twitter handle dedicated to
What?
organizations that have a presence on social media, much like prescription medicine, which can be and promotes cultural engagement with Bearden students. At Bearden_Leads is an Instagram and Twitter handle. Why? My baby boy's first words.
I'm sorry, I can calm down.
Welcome to our TED Talk.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
Welcome to my TED Talk.